Invocation and evocation. How do they differ? What are they used for? And does everybody actually agree? And we also have the term aspecting that some individuals and groups use. So let's have a better look at that. Okay, so first of all, I just want to give you some brief outlines and definitions of the three terms. So evocation would be to evoke into something else or into a space, and invocation would be to invoke into yourself. Now, when we talk about all of these terms, it doesn't just need to be spirits. It can be energy of any kind. So when we evoke something, we can even look at it in terms of evoking a response from somebody. So we would do something to get a response from someone, and that person is external to us. So when it comes to evoking, what you're doing, you are calling the spirit or the energy that you want to work with into something or into a space. Now that space can be your working space, your ritual space. If you've cast a circle or created sacred space, it can be into that space itself. And then you can talk to the spirit as you would if somebody else was with you in that space. You can also evoke an energy into that space so that you can basically kind of bathe yourself in that energy. I did give a brief example of this in one of the sigil videos actually, where you, from the sigil, you actually put it on the floor and you create a column of energy, which is the energy that you would want to sort of bathe yourself in order to make it manifest. So then you would step into this column of energy. It's a form of evocation, and then the energy would actually soak into you. It is crossing over a little bit to invocation, but let's just focus on evocation for the time being. So you can, as I say, you can evoke into a space, evoke something, a spirit or an energy into a space, or you can evoke it into an object. You might want to work with a triangle of art, where you can evoke a spirit into that triangle of art in order to sort of concentrate the energy so that you can manifest that spirit easier. Now, I just want to repeat something that I've said in the past. When it comes to evoking spirits and summoning spirits, there needs to be respect. And this is where demonologists actually differ in terminology. So they consider evocation to be more in lines with what ceremonial magicians would do in terms of a Christian-based format, such as the Goetia and the old grimoires, where you are forcing a spirit into a place and you are forcing it to do things. You are treating it badly. And so they don't like to actually use the term evocation, because demonolators have great respect for the demons, for the spirits. Demonolatry is demon worship. So you don't want to treat the spirits badly, you don't want to force them, you don't want to summon them and command them. You want to actually invoke them. It's just a difference between two schools of thought, and on the one hand I agree, evocation has come to mean this thing of summoning, controlling and forcing a spirit to do something and to appear before you because you are commanding it, and that is disrespectful. It would be disrespectful to a person, therefore it is disrespectful to a spirit, especially one that is thousands of years old. You wouldn't do it to your grandmother, don't do it to a 1,000-year-old spirit. So in this case, demonologists prefer to use the term invoke instead of evoke. However, on the other hand, my interpretation of evoke is different. I don't consider evocation to be a forcing or a commanding or a controlling aspect. It is simply pulling in the energy, asking it to come in, drawing it in with respect into the space or into an object or into a triangle of art where the energy is more concentrated. But evocation would be exterior to yourself, whereas invocation is interior. It is a form of possession. And again, to go back to demonoliters and their use of invocation, for a demonolator, invocation would be a prayer to a demon, to ask it for help, to ask it to come and talk to you and teach you, and things like that. But if we separate evocation from invocation, as I am discussing it here, then invocation is a type of possession. So you bring the spirit or the energy into yourself, into your own body. And there are two types of invocation. There's a partial and there's a full invocation. Now, we can obviously use the term possession. So you get a partial and a full possession. So a partial possession would be one where you are giving control of your vocal cords so that the spirit can talk through you, or you are giving control of your hand to do automatic writing, whereas a full possession would be a total possession, takes over your entire body. And usually in a full possession, the operator becomes completely unconscious, because obviously the spirit needs to take over completely. And to remain conscious, it gets a bit difficult. I mean, I was doing some ritual last night, and I did start having, I'm going to say partial possession. I was still conscious, but the spirit was moving my body around, moving my arms around. And because I was conscious, I can obviously break that any time. I did allow it to happen, obviously, because I wanted it to happen. But it's easy to break, and it's easy to also control. So if your arm's moving in this direction and you decide you want to go in this direction, you can. But if you allow the spirit to actually take control, then it will obviously lead your arms, your legs, your body, your vocal cords, whatever it wants to possess, in its own direction. But as I say, remaining conscious, it's easy to break it and easy to stop it. When you want to do a full possession, and it's usually only in group work you would do this, I would advise only, or advise full possession only with group work, because one, you become unconscious, so you don't actually know what's going to happen, what does happen during the possession. So you want somebody there to actually record it, to remember it, whatever was said, things like that. You could obviously record it yourself, but at the same time, you do want somebody who's experienced, so just in case something goes wrong and they need to actually remove or pull the spirit out of you, and remove it, so that you can actually, carry on in life as per normal. Now, the term aspecting that some individuals and groups use, this is actually a form of invocation, a form of possession. So they take invocation and they split it into the partial and the full possession, but whereas invocation is the partial possession and aspecting is simply the full possession. So, it's just a bit of a defining point between those two types of invocation. Now, you obviously see invocation a lot in different traditions and religions. I mean, the first one that probably comes to mind is voodoo, where the loa will actually ride the operator, and a full possession happens, and they are completely unconscious during the full possession, but it can get to the extent where their voice will change, their appearance will change, their body will change. And you get it in other traditions all over. You can think of the northern traditions and the Seether. Now, the Seether or the Spey is very much an oracle. So they will sit on the seat and they will allow the goddess to actually speak through them, and it's usually Helya. And it's very much a channeling of the goddess with messages of the dead. So it is very much necromancy and or necromantic rites and ancestral rites itself. So, I mean, evocation, invocation, they're two very different things. I think some people tend to use them interchangeably, which is a little bit wrong. The way I like to remember it, quite easy. Invocation is in. It's in yourself. Evocation is the opposite, so it's exterior to yourself. And as I say, it can be done with spirits and with energy. You can invoke a particular energy into you, and you can also evoke an energy into an amulet or a talisman, for instance, and fill that energy with or fill that talisman or amulet with the energy that you are wanting it to operate as. And at the same time, you can work with spirits. So you can evoke a spirit into your space. You can ask it to teach you. You can talk to it. And you don't need to do a manifestation. Manifestations themselves are actually quite rare. You know, people who do work with spirits on a constant basis will at some points probably have a manifestation. But for somebody to say that they manifest a spirit every single time they do an evocation, you know, I'd question that. But you don't need to manifest a spirit. You don't need to see a spirit in front of you for it to be there, and for you to work with it, and for you to speak with it. You can see it astrally. All you need to do is just close your eyes and open yourself up, and you'll see the spirit, and you can talk to it. You can interact with it, and it will teach you. So you don't need to force a spirit into a particular space, into a triangle of art or whatever it may be, and force it to manifest, because it's not necessary. If it wants to manifest, it will manifest. If it wants to show you what it looks like, it will show you. But it's not necessary. What's necessary is that communication and that relationship that you actually build. And if you do build a good relationship with a particular spirit, you'll probably find it does want to interact with you a bit more personally, and it probably will manifest. It will appear in dreams. It will guide you through life, and you know it's just as valid and just as valuable and just as profound to just evoke a spirit into your working space around you, to bring its energy in, and let that energy actually envelop you and surround you and touch you, and that energy will go through you and it will go out of you. It's not a possession in the sense that that spirit is controlling you, but the energy of that spirit, the power of that spirit, can be felt, and it can move into you and out of you and through you and around you, and it's extremely profound. So to do that, instead of having this spirit, you know, manifest over there, away from you, so you can't touch it and it can't harm you and it can't, you know, hurt you, it would only do that if you are forcing it. There's a big difference between that and actually allowing the energy of the spirit to actually move around you. And remember respect. So anything, just remember to be respectful. Okay, so that's the big difference between evocation, invocation, and the sometimes used word aspecting. There is also a word or term, petitioning, which some people use, and petitioning is it's a form of evocation, really. All you're doing is you're asking a god or a goddess to come into your space, and you are petitioning it to help you in some way. So, you know, we don't need to add too many words to the pile. I do respect invocation and aspecting because there are those two different types of invocation. So a definition between the two is quite useful sometimes, especially when explaining things. But when you're reading things or somebody's talking to you about these things, at least now you know what it's about. So how do you evoke and invoke a spirit? There are some set rules that some people put down, but I don't actually personally like using those set rules. It can be really simple, and I do it really simply. I mean, all I do is just sit down. I call the spirit that I want to work with, and by calling I mean just saying, "Hi, I'm here. I would like it if you came and sat with me, so that we can talk." And just something simple. If you know things about the spirit which are symbolic, then talk about those. Like if you are calling Hecate, for instance, you might want to talk about how she is the keeper of the keys, and you might want to talk about her hounds and Cerberus, and the triple crossroads, and her beautiful green eyes. So you might want to just bring that in, bring a bit of poetry in if you want to. I have sat and read poetry or invocations and things that people have put in books and such. But it doesn't feel right when I do that. So I do just ad hoc, just ad lib kind of stuff. And usually I'm not a poet myself. So for me to sit down and suddenly come up with this beautiful poem about this goddess or that god is a bit difficult. So I'll just talk, and it's the best way to do it. Is just talk, be respectful, and just ask them to come into your space. And if they want to, then just talk to you and help you with a situation or teach you. And you can create sacred space for it. Sometimes it works a lot better because you have banished all negative energies and emotions and thoughts. You've probably banished belief itself, depending on how far you do your banishings. And then you have balanced the space with the energies, and then it's a nice balanced space that you're working in. And because of that, the energy is a lot easier to actually work with and to call to you. And so you can create sacred space and then do this. Just talk. Just be respectful and just talk and just ask. And you'll find if you open yourself up, you'll start to feel the energy. And if you have your eyes closed, you'll probably see the god or goddess or spirit standing in front of you and actually talking to you. And then if you want to do invocation, just ask them if they would like to take over your body. And invocation with a new spirit can take a while, so don't expect it. It can happen first time, they just take over your body completely. But if it's a new spirit you're working with, they might just want to gently and slowly actually just fit you, see how you fit with them. So they might slowly come in and start moving you around and things like that. And it might take a few sessions to actually do a full possession, or even a partial possession. But you'll find that they'll start moving you around, trying to actually get your vocal cords to actually sync with them. So you might start groaning for a while, but just allow it to happen and be patient. And over time it gets more and more. They get more accustomed to your own body, your hand, your vocal cords, etc. And that's it for today then. And I'll see you on Friday. Have a good one. Cheers.